Be free, she whispered. Redemption and sacrifice. Kaelen's screams turned from rage to sorrow. For the first time in decades, his human face flickered through the shadows, eyes filled with regret. Elara, he gasped, his voice no longer the Shadow King's, but the prince he once was. End it, please. With one final surge, Elara poured everything into the crystal. The flames consumed her, the shadows shattered, and the Heart of Eternia exploded in a burst of pure light. The shockwave ripped through the citadel, dissolving every shadow beast, collapsing the cursed walls, clearing the poisoned skies. When the light faded, silence remained. Kaelen lay on the ground, human once more, his body weak. He looked at Elara, now lying still, her flames extinguished. I wanted eternity, he whispered, tears on his face. But she gave me peace. And with that, he closed his eyes, never to rise again. The dawn of Aruvia. The companions rushed to Elara's side. Seraphis wept, placing his hand over her heart. For a moment, there was nothing. But then, the phoenix mark glowed faintly once more. Her chest rose with a weak breath. She lived. Barely, but she lived. The phoenix has spared her, Seraphis whispered. Her sacrifice has restored balance. Outside, the skies cleared for the first time in years. Sunlight poured across the land. Rivers shimmered, fields stirred with new life, and the curse lifted. The kingdom of Aruvia, though scarred, was free. Epilogue. Months later, Elara stood upon a hill overlooking the reborn valley. Darian, Lyra, and Thalos stood beside her, each scarred but smiling. Seraphis rested his staff in the soil, content at last. Elara's mark still glowed, though weaker now. She knew her journey was far from over. Darkness would rise again someday. But for now, hope lived. She whispered to the wind. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a new dawn. And as the sun rose over Aruvia, the land of the Forgotten Kingdom awakened once more, reborn in fire and light. With a wave of his hand, the throne room erupted. Shadows formed into monstrous warriors, black spears and swords clashing against Elara's companions. Darian's starlight blade met their blows. Lyra danced among them with knives, and Thalos roared as he smashed through entire squads. Seraphis held back the tide with walls of silver light. Elara faced Kaelen directly. He moved with impossible speed, striking with a blade forged from shadow itself. Every swing sent shockwaves through the hall, cracking stone. Elara countered with bursts of flame, each strike lighting the dark chamber. Their battle was fire against shadow, light against abyss. But Kaelen was relentless. Every wound she inflicted healed as the crystal pulsed. Every flame she summoned drained her further. Sweat poured down her face, her vision blurred, yet still she fought. You are nothing, Kaelen hissed, striking her down to her knees. A child playing at destiny. I am eternity itself. Elara looked up, her body broken but her spirit unyielding. No, you are a slave, to the crystal. The truth of the crystal. As Kaelen raised his blade to finish her, Seraphis shouted across the hall. Elara. The crystal is the key. Do not destroy him, free him. In that moment, Elara understood. The Heart of Eternia was not evil by nature, it was corrupted by Kaelen's greed. To end the curse, she had to burn the darkness from the crystal itself, even if it meant consuming her own life. Summoning every last ember of her phoenix fire, Elara rose. The mark on her shoulder blazed like a star. Her companions shielded her from the Shadow Army, giving her the moment she needed. She charged straight at Kaelen. The Shadow King struck, but her flames burned through his shadow blade. She pressed her hand against his chest, directly upon the glowing crystal. Kaelen screamed, his voice shaking the heavens. Darkness poured from his body, writhing like serpents. Elara's fire clashed against it, a storm of light and shadow consuming the hall. Her body felt as though it were tearing apart. Every heartbeat was agony, every breath fire. She knew she would not survive, but she kept pushing. The ruins of Aruvia lay before them, an empire swallowed by its own curse. Once golden towers now stood as blackened husks, jagged and broken, as though the earth itself had rebelled against them. The skies were torn open, a permanent storm swirling above the dark citadel where Kaelen ruled. Elara and her companions paused at the valley's edge. None of them spoke. The silence was heavier than words. This is it, Seraphis finally whispered. His silver staff pulsed, as though alive. "Beyond those gates lies your destiny, child of the Phoenix." Elara's hand trembled as she touched the mark glowing faintly on her shoulder. She remembered her mother's face, Darian's words by the fire, Lyra's laughter even in danger, Thalos's vow to protect her. Their faith gave her strength. She nodded. Together, they descended into the heart of the cursed kingdom. The Citadel of Shadows. The gates of the citadel loomed, massive obsidian doors carved with grotesque faces that screamed without sound. As they approached, the ground shook, and the doors split open on their own. A voice, deep and resonant, thundered from within. "Welcome, child. Come claim your fate." The Shadow King was waiting. Inside, the citadel stretched like a cavern of nightmares. Black flames lit the halls, shadows slithered across the walls, and statues of twisted kings stood frozen in agony. At the center rose the throne room, vast and echoing, with a ceiling that disappeared into endless darkness. There he sat, Kaelen, the Shadow King. His body was no longer human. Armor of living shadow encased him. His eyes burned like twin suns of ash, and the heart of Eternia pulsed visibly within his chest, fused to his very soul. "Do you know why you were allowed to reach me, girl?" Kaelen's voice was calm, almost mocking. "Because you cannot win. The Phoenix Mark is a curse as much as a blessing. Every flame you summon burns your life away. When you fight me, you will destroy yourself." Elara stepped forward, fire sparking faintly around her. "Better to burn than let you drown the world in darkness." Kaelen laughed, rising from his throne. "Then burn." The battle begins. Seraphis saved her that night, driving off the remaining wraiths with spells of silver light. But he knew their time was short. The Shadow King has sensed you. He will not stop until you are his, or dead. Together, they traveled toward the ruined capital of Aruvia, for within its cursed ruins lay the key to defeating Kaelen. Along the way, Elara gathered allies. Darian, a wandering swordsman whose family was slain by Kaelen's beasts. He wielded a blade forged from starlight, passed down from ancestors who once guarded the Heart of Eternia. Lyra, a thief from the southern deserts, quick with knives and quicker with her wit, who had once stolen a fragment of crystal infused with the Shadow King's magic. Thalos, a half-giant exile, banished for refusing to kneel before Kaelen's throne. His strength could shatter stone, yet his heart was gentle, bound to protect Elara once he saw the mark of destiny upon her. Together, they formed a small band of light in a world drowning in darkness. The journey tested them. In the ruins of the drowned city Vaindrel, they faced river serpents twisted by shadow. In the desert of glass, they crossed storms of black sand where whispers tried to drive them mad. And in the forest of silent trees, they encountered spirits of those who had once lived, begging for release. Through it all, Elara's power grew, but so did her doubt. Could she truly defeat the Shadow King? Each time she used her flames, she felt her life draining. What if, when the final battle came, she had nothing left to give? One night, around a campfire, Darian spoke softly. "I once thought vengeance was my only purpose. But traveling with you, I see something greater. You don't just fight Kaelen, you give people hope. And that's something he can never destroy." Elara looked into the fire, silent, but in her heart a spark of courage burned brighter than ever before. Finally, they reached the edge of Aruvia, the cursed kingdom. The land itself was broken. Rivers were tar, skies choked with ash, and the once golden fields were nothing but dust. In the distance, the black citadel of the Shadow King rose, its spires stabbing the heavens. But before they could reach it, they were ambushed. A legion of shadow beasts, led by one of Kaelen's generals, a monstrous figure clad in armor of bone and steel, with wings of fireless ash. The battle was fierce. Thalos shattered dozens of beasts with his fists. Lyra darted through shadows, her knives finding weak spots. Darian's blade shone with starlight as he clashed with the general. But the beasts were endless. Elara knew only her flames could end it. She called upon the phoenix fire, screaming as her mark blazed like a sun. A torrent of fire erupted, sweeping across the battlefield, reducing the army to ashes. The general fell, roaring, his body collapsing into black dust. Silence followed. The battlefield was nothing but scorched earth. Elara collapsed again, trembling, her body weakened more than ever before. Her friends rushed to her side. "You saved us," Lyra whispered, "but at what cost?" Elara's eyes opened weakly, her voice soft. The cost of hope is always sacrifice. Far away, in his dark citadel, Kaelen felt the surge of phoenix fire. His eyes widened with rage and fear. For the first time in years, the Shadow King trembled. The child has come. And with that, he summoned all his legions, preparing for the war that would decide the fate of eternity. The wanderer who found Elara introduced himself as Seraphis, a sage of the Old Order. His silver staff glowed faintly, inscribed with runes so ancient that even Elara's mother could not read them. He told Elara the truth she had always feared in her dreams. You are the one born under prophecy. The Shadow King will not be stopped by armies nor kings. Only the child of the Phoenix can face him. At first, Elara refused to believe. She was a healer's daughter, not a warrior. She had never lifted a sword, nor cast a spell beyond simple herbs and chants. But Seraphis showed her visions through his staff. Visions of Kaelen's fall, of the crystal's curse, of armies of shadows tearing across the land. And in every vision, she saw herself, standing against the darkness, flames in her hands. For weeks, Seraphis trained her. He taught her to channel the inner fire that lived within her bloodline. She discovered that when she concentrated, the crescent mark on her shoulder burned with light, and flames would answer her call. She could ignite dry wood without touch, heal wounds by burning away the infection, even summon a protective ring of fire against beasts of the forest. But every gift carried pain. Each time she called upon the phoenix fire, her body weakened, as though her own life was being consumed. Seraphis warned her, "Your power is not endless, child. The phoenix blesses you, but also tests you. The greater the flame you summon, the closer you burn to ash." Meanwhile, the Shadow King's empire grew. In the cursed land of Aruvia, Kaelen sat upon his black throne, the heart of Eternia pulsing in his chest. His armies of shadow beasts marched further east, crushing villages, enslaving survivors. He had become more than a king. He was a living storm of darkness. His body no longer mortal, his veins ran with obsidian fire. Yet, despite his might, he was haunted. At night, in dreams, he heard whispers. A girl marked by flame, a child of prophecy. His paranoia grew. He sent spies, shadow wraiths, and assassins across the lands to hunt for her. One night, as Elara slept in the forest camp, shadows crept between the trees. Silent, black figures with burning eyes surrounded her. Before she could scream, fire erupted from her mark, and a shield of flame engulfed the camp. The attackers screeched as they burned, their forms melting like wax. But Elara collapsed, exhausted, her strength nearly gone. Long ago, before the rise of modern empires, there existed a kingdom hidden deep inside the misty valleys of the east. This kingdom, called Aruvia, was blessed with golden harvests, rivers that glowed under the moonlight, and mountains filled with emerald stones. The people of Aruvia lived in harmony, ruled by the benevolent King Elarian, whose wisdom was said to rival the sages of time. But Aruvia held a secret, a sacred crystal known as the Heart of Eternia. Legends claimed it was not of this world, a fragment of fallen starlight gifted by celestial beings. It granted the land abundance, but it also carried a curse. If greed ever tainted the hands that held it, the kingdom would fall into eternal ruin. For centuries, kings guarded the crystal with devotion. But when King Elarian's son, Prince Kaelen, grew restless, destiny shifted. Kaelen was unlike his father, proud, ambitious, and hungry for glory. He believed the Heart of Eternia should not merely bless Aruvia, but empower him to conquer the world. His obsession grew darker with each passing year. At night, he dreamt of black armies rising at his command, empires bowing, and his name sung across eternity. The whispers of the crystal, soft, venomous voices, fed his ambition. Claim me, wield me, and all shall kneel. One stormy night, Kaelen entered the sacred chamber alone. The crystal floated upon a pedestal of ancient oak, glowing with an inner flame. He stretched out his hand, trembling with both fear and desire. But as his fingers closed around it, the light flared, then turned to shadows. The curse had awakened. The skies split apart, raining ash upon the land. Rivers turned to blood, harvests withered, and creatures twisted into monstrous forms. Aruvia became a realm of despair. King Elarian tried to stop his son, but Kaelen, corrupted by the crystal's power, was no longer mortal. His eyes glowed like burning coals, his voice echoed like thunder, and his heart beat with darkness. He was now the Shadow King. For 7 years, the cursed prince ruled over a wasteland of fire and sorrow. His armies of shadow beasts marched against neighboring lands. Villages were reduced to ashes, temples crumbled, and hope vanished from mortal hearts. But prophecy had foretold. One child, born under a moonless night, carrying the mark of the phoenix, would rise against the Shadow King. And so, in a distant village untouched by Kaelen's wrath, a child named Elara was born. A crescent-shaped birthmark glowed upon her shoulder, faint but radiant under moonlight. Her mother, a healer, knew this was destiny. She raised Elara in secret, teaching her the arts of herbs, songs of old, and whispers of forgotten gods. As Elara grew, her dreams were haunted by visions. A burning kingdom, a crystal pulsing in darkness, and a shadowed figure calling her name. She did not yet understand, but the world was waiting for her. One evening, when she turned 17, she found an old wanderer at the edge of the forest. His robes were torn, his eyes weary, but his staff gleamed with silver runes. "I have walked across deserts and oceans to find you," he whispered. "Child of the Phoenix, your time has come." And thus began Elara's journey. The path that would lead her into the cursed ruins of Aruvia, to face the Shadow King, and to decide the fate of eternity itself.